Thanks for joining us here on the Retirement Income Source. Our show is always going to be about investing for income the old-fashioned way. I'm Tim Sparks. I'm glad you joined us here on your afternoon as you're going back and forth, maybe to lunch or if you're just at your home, at your leisure. Our show is sponsored by Sparks Financial Group, a financial firm right here in the heart of the Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. This show is for you, the listener. What I teach you here on this show is based on my 20 years of experience of what to do and, most importantly, what not to do. Because if you're a pre-retiree wanting to get it right, or if you're a retiree who wants it to end well, the question is, you have to be diligent. This is something you have to be willing to do, because at the end of the day, people, you only get it one time, one shot to get it right when it comes to spending your money. You got to know how money works, how money can make money, own money is really critical. And we use the analogy sometimes, like a farmer that owns land. If they have 300-acre farm, the question is, if they want to keep their farm, the value intact, the value of the farm itself, that's an asset. Separate that asset convert it into an income. Well, how does farmers do that? Well, they do it by generating crops, whether it's soybean or tobacco, corn, whatever it is that they sell every year for the purpose of income. You see, you can invest in your portfolio the same very way. You can actually invest in a way where you can get stocks that pay you dividends and bonds that pay you income. Now, I'm not talking about what you're getting already. I'm talking about upgrading that income. Because right now, what we see today, about 99% of the portfolios I've ever seen, is the income is very small compared to what it needs to be. After all, think about it for a moment. You're trying to prevent from spending your principal. But unfortunately, the very thing that it took you 30 to 40 years to accumulate is going to take you less time to go through it if you're not careful. Because think about it for a moment. The reason I use the farmer and the land, for example, to give you an idea, you have a portfolio and it's worth a certain amount of money. Equate that to a farm. So I just use 300 acres to kind of be realistic, because in theory, we know the value of real estate goes up over time, and so does stocks go up in value over time. Well, in order to be able to get that benefit of the value over time, you don't want to be selling the farm. You don't want to be selling your shares in your side of your portfolio. It's the same structure. It does the same thing. So you want to create income instead. Income that you can rely on. It's much more reliable to get an interest and dividend, or what I call the bird in the hand, than it is to try to go for the two in the bush and let's just start selling our shares to generate income. And unfortunately, the majority of the time people are actually selling their shares to create income, and they don't even know it. When I think of investing for income, it's kind of like, it gives you permission to spend. What I find when we deal with people and talking to them and stuff, and when they meet with us, when we do their analysis on their income, compare it to what they're doing now, it's like their eyes are wide open. They've never seen anything like this. This is not magic, people. High net worth individuals, what I have found, finds this to be pretty simple, and they understand it. But whenever I'm dealing with everybody in general, like me and you and every one of us that are investing our money, it's almost like we've been actually shielded from the right vehicles for retirement. And I'm going to be quite honest with you, I prefer income investing even if I was 30 years old. Yeah, I'm going to throw in some growth and stuff to be diversified even when I'm growing my investments. But the thing is, though, dividend value stocks outperform growth stocks over a 5 or 10 year period. It's a proven fact. There's only been 2 or 3 periods, and I'm talking about 5-year intervals, going all the way back into the 50s till now, that growth beat value stocks over a 5 or 10 year period. And it was barely So think about it for a moment. If you want to increase your odds to get more growth out of your portfolio, then investing for dividends, you've got a higher probability than vice versa. See, the pendulum swings too much for the growth. You can get a big gain and then get a big loss, right? It's almost like, okay, you got to meet it in the middle somewhere. So if you get a 30% gain over 2 years and then you lose 20%, you're almost right back to ground zero. It's like you didn't make any money whatsoever. So, and the only way you can really sustain a growth strategy is you got to know when to get in and get out. You can't just keep hanging on and thinking that performance is going to continue to increase, because anytime something climbs so high so quickly begs the question, when is it going to stop? And so, I don't have a problem with growth, but whenever we have clients that are kind of playing that game with part of the money, we take some off the table so that way they can reasonably have some steady growth. And in order to do that, you got to be able to take it off the table. Like Kenny Rogers just say, you got to know when to hold and you got to know when to fold. So if you're one of those that are wondering, how in the world do you invest for dividends and get growth at the same time? Because I get it. When the markets are going up, it's hard to get out. People say, well, when's the best time? There is no best time. When it comes to income, now is better than waiting. Sometimes people think, well, I need to wait it out and see how much more I can get. Well, I'm not keeping you from growth, but you're keeping yourself from income. So you have to decide which one you want. If you want income, you can get income and growth. It's hard to spend growth unless you sell. And a lot of times you got to know when to sell, right? I mean, there's a process even when it comes to selling for the purpose of income. So I like to get a commission report in your hand, how to invest for dividends or income while being in the stock market. Believe it or not, there's a process of doing it. This is really a place not really for amateurs. Yeah, you can find some companies out there that pay dividends, but in order to get growth and dividends, it's a lot of companies out there may be good at dividends, but not good at growth. So in other words, if you're going to be in that market, you got to be able to know how to do both. And you can get that report by calling 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. And we'll mail this to your email at whichever you prefer. Again, that's 888-930-1080. I'm Tim Sparks. This is the Retirement Income Source. And today we're going to be talking about kind of a mixture of things, but primarily 21st century estate planning. Estate planning unheard of. Now, I did say 21st century estate planning. It's digital estate planning. In other words, everything is at your fingertips. You can actually go online, see your estate plan, make changes, do whatever you want to, and so forth. And you can make unlimited changes 24/7, 365 days out of the year for a minimal cost. And, when it comes to estate planning, let me tell you my story. I have been working with clients with estate planning, not me. I'm not an attorney. I don't do estate planning myself. But our clients are always wanting to know, who do we recommend and who do we suggest? And, through the years, I've worked with several firms and estate planning firms. We sent them business, but I've been uneasy about some situations that I've encountered, because we dealt with, we deal with people that are in retirement. We deal with people that are getting of age, and we've already dealt with several deaths. And recently, we experienced a death of a client who actually had everything done and done correctly. And this is kind of what got me looking around to find out, okay, when it comes to estate plan, who gets it right? Who does it right and gets it done right the first time? And so that's kind of the thing that's been concerning me. But what spearheaded all that concern was this particular case. This case, they had a book trust. A book trust is just, a binder of all documents. You got power of attorneys in there, and you know what I'm talking about. They got living wills, a living trust. It's got all these documents in there. And typically when they get delivered to the client, they're usually notarized. Usually you got to have a witness or two, and everything's handed to the client. And the client, when they walk away, and of course this particular client I'm talking about, this couple, he lost his wife just a few years ago, but whenever he lost her, and the bereavement has subsided. It was a few months later, and after all these documents, and he just thought everything was done correctly. He goes to his estate planning attorney, and this is where they fail. And for estate planning attorneys out there, I tell you right now, if you don't get these trusts funded, these people are not going to do it. Your clients are not going to do it. You're going to have to offer that service to get it funded. When I say funded, I'm not talking about like funding a bank account. I'm talking about assigning your assets to the trust and get it done correctly. But 90+% of the time, we see that trusts are left vacant. In other words, they're just a pile of rubble, a pile of paper doing nothing. And at the end of the day, if you think you got an estate plan, and if you have especially if you have a trust, the point of a trust is to avoid probate. And if you don't avoid probate, then why did you even have a trust? So in other words, you spent all that money to avoid probate, and guess what? You're going to go through probate because you did not fund the trust. You need to assign your assets to the trust. And it doesn't matter your prejudices or whatever it is that's going on, just get your trust funded. Assign your assets, your checking accounts, your cars, your deeds. And this is the stuff that are the firm that we're recommending that they recommend. They recommend it right out of the gate. That's the first thing that they suggest, and actually they get it done. They get it done less than an hour. I don't know about you, but I have went through this process myself, the fastest I've ever seen a trust get funded. And I have a client that didn't get it funded. Matter of fact, this is one of many. I'm going back to all of our clients and telling them, hey, we're going to have to get you in front of the firm that's going to get this thing done right. And so it costed them, let's just put it this way. It had 4 digits worth of a bill. I mean, we're talking about just under $10,000 that still had to go through probate and stuff like that with a particular client. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, you didn't even get a plan. Yeah, I don't know what you have. You had everything's on paper, and it doesn't mean anything. And that is as useless as a tits on a boar hog, as my mother used to say. So with that being said, people, get the trust funded if you have a trust. And if you don't know how to do it, then you need to find somebody that's qualified that knows how to get it done. So with that being said, if you would like to have a free consultation to learn about a one-time flat fee, it's not anything we do. We don't make any money on this. This is what we're recommending to all of our clients. The flat fee for all the documents, you have 100% control. We're going to talk more about that as we go through the show today. You get your trust funded in one day, not weeks, not months. You get an interactive medical ID card that could save your life. There's a lot to this. There's a lot of work that's went behind this. And these things you cannot get anywhere else, people. And so if you would like to be able to schedule that, call 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. Again, I'm not the attorney, but we can facilitate that and get you in front of this group and learn more about 21st century estate planning. You're tuned in to the Retirement Income Source. This is Tim Sparks, and we'll be right back. Welcome to the Retirement Income Source. This is Tim Sparks, and this show is sponsored by Sparks Financial Group right here in the heart of the Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. Today we're talking about 21st century estate planning, and also we're going to give a few tax tips as we're getting the end of the year. A lot of people want to be able to get a few things wrapped up that they can deduct off from their successful year as far as being in the market, etc. And we show people how to do that as well. And as who we are and what we do, we help people facilitate estate planning, not me, But the firm that we send our clients to actually does all of this, is made up of 6 different attorneys. This company has been in business since 1985, and they know a little bit about trust. They've done like 22,000 trusts. And if there's a trust exists, they know how to do it. And I'm a big fan of trust. And, my dad's had trust since he's been about 38 years old. I can remember him always talking about them over the years, and just in passing family discussions and whatever. And matter of fact, he's got several trusts, and they do different unique things for whatever he's trying to accomplish, because he's always been a big fan. He doesn't want, he wants to make sure everything goes appropriately to the right place. And, he wants to do everything he can do to be able to save a headache of the kids and my mother and so forth. And so estate planning by trust, in my opinion, this is not me giving legal advice. I just prefer a trust. That's what I have. People ask me what I think. I said, well, from a legal perspective, I can't tell you what I think. I can just tell you what I do and why I do it. If you have a will, then your will, even though that's great news, you at least have a will. You'll be surprised that people don't even have a will. I think I read somewhere that about 50% of the people have a will and 50% do not. That's not good. You should have at least a will, but a will go through probate. Why is that? Because you got to validate everything that's on the will and whom you're going to bequeath your assets to. And you're also going to leave somebody in charge called an executor. That executor sometimes don't like the headache of dealing with a will. But a will means you're going to go through probate. Is that bad? No. It just means you're going to the estate is going to have to handle some additional costs. It's simpler, but it's sometimes more complex and more costlier on the back end. Wills can be contested, from my understanding. Think about it for a moment. I know people right now, if they had not have done a trust, they would have had their will. If they would have done a will instead, they would have gotten their estate contested. And believe it or not, when it comes to kids coming in and after mom and dad has passed away, they can. I'm sure they can probably contest and may even have a legitimate claim against the will that the mother and dad actually set up. That's the reason I prefer a trust. That's just me. There's a lot of legalities and things that you can do and do it right. There's good firms out there that know what they're doing. I'm a big fan of finding a firm that does estate planning specifically, that has has got tax accountants also on staff. You want somebody that's all they do. Sometimes people will pick an attorney that, they do it as a sidekick. They're more in bankruptcy or they're more into criminal law, whatever it is. And they just kind of go to them because, maybe they're a brother, aunt, uncle, or whatever. And to me, that is not really a great estate plan, because there's ongoing problems with estate plan, right? Because your beneficiaries, you may have set everything up 10 years ago, and a lot of things have changed since then. You probably acquired newer assets. Assets are probably not even pointed to the trust. They're going to go through probate if they're in excess of the minimum by the law here in the state of Kentucky. You have other costs. You have if they contest it, then there's going to be attorney costs. There's going to be administration costs. There's going to be costs when it comes to an executor. I had a client tell me that they were the executor of their mom and dad's estate here about 3 months ago, and they charged 6% of the estate. And it legitimately, they should have, because there's a lot of work that goes on behind that. But at the end of the day, people, if you want to be able to control it more, then you're the one that has to set the plan up, not anybody else. And you've got, you can sit down, write down what you want, and then you need to actually implement it. And one thing I'm going to tell you, when it comes to probate, if you're trying to avoid probate, procrastination won't do it. Only action will avoid probate. But if you would like to know more about 21st century estate planning, I can go all day on 21st estate planning. And the biggest reason why that we chose the firm, national firm, they do it they do it in all 50 states. They're been around since 1985, and we offer a free consultation where I can show you how you can get this stuff done. This is what we recommend our clients. Flat fee, all documents. You have 100% control. If you ever decide you want to change it, anytime you want to change it, no extra, all these bunch of, because you're going to have to pay a fee if you go through attorney every time something changes. You don't even know if there is change. Maybe there's legislation changes, and all these things can happen. And you can have your trust funded in one day. Funded is extremely important. This is a reason why most trusts that are put together today, and what I've seen with clients come in, they don't even have anything pointed to the any assets pointed to the trust, which means they're going to go through probate, which is the very thing they were trying to avoid. And you also get an interactive medical ID. Nothing like this at all. Keep in mind, we are different than anybody else. This is unheard of. And if you call in 888-930-1080, and we'll tell you more about that, scheduling that appointment and coming in, and we can actually cover that. Again, I'm not the attorney, but we are the ones that can actually help you facilitate that, because estate planning is extremely important, and especially to clients that we serve. I think not having an estate plan is going to have a lot of consequences on the back end, and I've already seen it. I can sit here all day on this show and can share with you. You can call it horror stories. You can say I'm a Debbie Downer, whatever you want to call me. But at the end of the day, I just rather plan than sit around and talk about it. And that's the problem today. I think we do more talking than we do doing. And sometimes we need to take care of things, especially when it comes to something this caliber. I talk about being intentional. Be intentional when it comes to estate planning. Get it done, because I think it's extremely important. We're going to talk more about that 21st century estate planning in the coming two new segments. But I want to talk a little bit about some things you can do right now to minimize some of your taxes that we're actually suggesting and have been suggesting to our clients for many years. Is one of them is called a QCD, a Qualified Charitable Distribution. And if you're not familiar with it, you ought to get familiar with it, especially if you go to church and you're paying tithe. I don't know about you, but most people don't realize that they don't, you pay your tithe at the end of the year, the church sends you an assessment, you send it to your tax accountant, and let me tell you what's going to happen. You're not going to more than likely get the deduction, because standard deductions are so high, most of you are probably familiar with that you can't even write that money off. Now, don't get me wrong, if I pay into a charity or something where I get a write-off or not, it doesn't matter. But in this case, why not? Why not save a little bit of money? Especially if it's easy to do. Qualified charitable contributions. You have to be over 70 and a half to be able to do this. Anybody less than 70 and a half cannot. And you got to have an IRA. I can tell you right now, from my understanding, most 401ks, 403bs do not allow you to do this. Because they don't have the structure to do that, because they're assuming you're going to move your money into an IRA in the first place. There could be an exception, but I have not found them yet. So qualified charitable distribution to your charity direct allows you to be able to write that off instantly. It's kind of like a 401k contribution. You remember the years whenever you were contributing to a 401k. If your gross income, your salary was $100,000 and you were paying $10,000 a year to your 401k, you only pay taxes on $90,000. It's the same way it is when you contribute to your charity, church, wherever you want that money to go. You can send it directly to them from the custodian. That's Fidelity, Charles Schwab, who we use, and they send the check directly to them, and you can write that off and get that extra deduction. Some people find that's beneficial. Think about it. I mean, I've seen $2,000 to $4,000 in savings sometimes by making charitable contributions based on the current income and the tax thresholds that you're already in. Why not take advantage of it? It's simple to do, not that hard to do, and that's what we do for our clients. And a penny saved, a penny earns, as my mother used to tell me. So with that being said, If you would like to learn more about income first methods, they're going to talk a lot about retirement income day. We're going to be talking a lot about the 21st century estate planning, but I want to let you know about my book. It just came out about a month ago. Amazon bestseller within a week after the release, Retirement Income Shift. The name of the book, How to Get the Most Mileage Out of Your Money, which is what this show is really geared for and who we are. We specialize in income. And I got a free copy for the first 5 callers of today's Retirement Income Source by calling 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. Again, that's a free, no obligation book, 888-930-1080. You're tuned in to the Retirement Income Source. This is Tim Sparks. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Retirement Income Source. This is Tim Sparks, your host, and our show is sponsored by Sparks Financial Group, a firm right here in the heart of the bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. And today we're talking about 21st century estate planning. What is 21st century estate planning? It's unique and different, and it's more seamless than any other estate planning process I've ever seen. And I have seen different programs because, as a financial firm, we have estate planning firms, visiting us from time to time, wanting us to send their clients to them. And I check people out because it's extremely important, because at the end of the day, nobody likes to spend no more money than they have to. When it comes to estate planning, it's not as concerned about the fee. The fee is actually the best part of it, because the fee that it costs to get a trust, a good, well-designed trust, and I'm a big fan of a living trust. I'm just a fan of trust over a will any old day. But when you have a trust, you can get that trust to do whatever you really want it to do to some degree. Of course, a living trust doesn't really do anything but really avoid probate, or help you avoid probate at all costs. You're not going to protect yourself from lawsuits and all that. You have to talk to a estate planning firm if you're trying to get into all them details. And even then, they'll even tell you it's not that easy to be able to succeed in being able to do that. But when it comes to trust planning, we're a big fan of it, because on my own plan, I want the door to close after me and my wife pass, and I want to make sure that it is seamless whenever our children take over our own assets. And I really suggest it, because at the end of the day, it's not my intention to create emotional stress, both stress and financial stress on our kids on something I could have avoided all along. That was not our intention, and I don't want it to be our intention. So we want to be able to minimize that as much as possible. Because I don't know, I was reading an article, and it was from Inheritance Advance. I actually Googled this. How many probate cases were actually start up in all 50 states in the United States? And as of right now, matter of fact, this was as of 2022, over 3 million a year cases in probate. Now, if you take 3 million, divide it by 50 states, 260 working days a year, that is 230 cases per day in the state of Kentucky on average throughout the United States. That's a lot of cases. Now, you may be thinking, well, what's the big deal? Well, anytime you open up probate court case, it means you're automatically going to have to pay costs out of your estate. That's one reason why people do trust. They want to be able to minimize or even eliminate that cost. And a well-designed living trust can actually be able to allow at least you not have to go through probate. And so probate, and by the way, probate costs today can be anywhere between what I've been reading up to 5% of your estate. Where if you have an executor over a will, it can be up to 5 or 6% of your estate, depending on whatever the executor chooses to charge. That's on a will, but I'm talking about probate and attorney fees. Attorney fees can also be even higher Not that attorneys are not worth their salt, but it can be higher because there could be, some people can come in and contest your estate if you have a will and you want to be able to minimize or even eliminate that. Now, the key is being able to minimize the predators, so to speak, that actually come after you, and not really come after your estate, but things you want to be able to avoid cost to your estate. Also, according to LexisNexis, the cost and the revenue that is collected every year through probate is over $2 billion per year. That's $2 billion with a B. If you divide it by 50 states, divide it by 260 days of the year, that's $153,000 in probate fees collected every day. So, the whole goal of doing a proper estate plan is you don't want to be one of those that happen to be a victim of that type of cost. And if you think about it for a moment, probate costs today, what do you think they're going to be in the future? Because I'm willing to bet most of you are probably listening, you're probably in your 60s, maybe in your 50s, maybe you're in your 70s or 80s. And if you live 20 or 30 years, you think the costs are going to be more? Sure, they're going to be more. We're just talking about today's cost and where they're at currently. And of course, we want to be able to do an estate plan. We want to be able to have a trust together so that way we can, again, minimize these costs. That's the whole goal of a living trust. And keep in mind, if you die intestate, if you don't have a will whatsoever, then you're going to go by Kentucky's plan. Kentucky has a plan to divvy out your assets. Now, if you don't have a lot, it's one thing. But when you have in excess of 30, 50, I've seen different numbers on what minimum is before it goes through probate. I'm going to veer on the side between $30,000 and $50,000. If your net worth is above that, then if you have no will or if you have a will, then both of those are going to be going through probate, and there's going to be a certain cost for that. And of course, the larger amount of assets you have, the bigger the cost. And it's not to scare you, it's just to prepare you. It is what it is. And my goal is to be able to help you to at least be aware of it. It's up to you whether you want to do something about it. So if you would like to have a consultation with myself to learn about how to have a one-time flat fee, in other words, a one-time flat fee, to get all the estate planning documents that you need, and there's a lot of documents besides what I've been covering so far, you have 100% control. You see, you lose control, right, whenever there's things you need to make changes for and or own in your trust over time, like divorces, bankruptcies, or lawsuits, or whatever it may be amongst your heirs, and then you have to go make a change that's going to cost you. You want to be able to be in a position where you have total control. You want it funded in one day. You want everything assigned to the trust in one day, and that's exactly what our clients are going to be getting as we speak. If you would like to be able to have a consultation, call 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. And we will take care of that by setting up a meeting where we can actually cover everything there is that encompasses in this type of 21st century estate planning, so that way you can be on your way to have a solid estate plan. This is put together by 6 different estate planning attorneys, not me. I'm not an estate planning attorney, but I basically and sharing this with you because this is exactly what we share with our clients. You're going to hear about this a lot more in the coming year in 2025. I want to be able to talk about this because I think it's going to revolutionize estate planning because at the end of the day, it's about getting it done, and I'm a big fan of getting it done. So if you, again, want to set up that consultation, call 888-930-1080. Thank you for tuning in. This is Tim Sparks, and today we are talking about 21st century estate planning. Estate planning, unheard of. It's digital estate planning. You heard it right, digital. Now, believe it or not, from my understanding, most estate planning firms, we have estate attorney that is actually an advisor in our group. I'm part of a think tank, and we have an estate plan attorney, does estate plans for his clients. He says in probably the last 10 years, most estate plans are been going to iCloud. So iCloud is a form of a digital estate plan. But it goes beyond that. You can actually go online, log into your estate plan, and make changes anytime you want to. And they do it the right way. They want to make sure it's time, date, and stamped. They have a little notepad that you go in and you say, I need to make this change or that change. You can do that anytime. It doesn't matter if you're in Florida or if you're in Hawaii. As long as you got access to internet, you can actually make those changes. Unheard of. And some of the nuances I like about this plan, it's got an IRA inheritance trust, which I think is extremely cool. Matter of fact, it's worth the salt for this one-time flat fee that this attorney group has actually put together on behalf of our clients that we serve, which was extremely important to me. IRA inheritance trust, I heard about this years ago. Typically, an IRA inheritance trust today, from my understanding, will cost you anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000. Now, it's a unique trust for the purpose of IRAs only, specifically. We got the Secure Act. Secure Act, is obviously what is the rules today, the governing rules over your IRA, your 401k, 403b, TSA, whatever kind of plans you have. But when it comes to an IRA inheritance trust, what I like about it is, I have a large IRA. And so when I pass, for example, it goes to my wife. Nothing happens, right? It goes to my spouse as if she originally owned it. So far, so good. Tax-free to her, tax-free transfer to her. She has an existing IRA. She can commingle it with her own assets. It doesn't really matter. When it goes to the kids, it goes a third in my case, okay? So I'm going to give you an example. Let's just say it's $1 million. That's $333,000 each one of the kids get today, okay? So if something happens to me and my wife, this is the reason why I want estate planning done, because something can happen to both of us. So you want to be prepared. You don't know how we're going to go, right? We know death and taxes are guaranteed, and so we need an estate planning to be able to make sure we can be able to help us and assist us when that does happen. And so if my son, for example, $333,000, he has a choice. He can either take it up front as a lump sum, or he can spread that out over 10 years. Well, Secure Act says over 10 years. That's the tax efficient way, by the way, $33,000 a year. But which choice do you think he's going to choose? I'm willing to bet you probably thought the same thing I did, the lump sum up front. The problem is that creates a $100,000+ tax. I did say $100,000 or more in taxes to federal state income taxes because of that decision. Why? Because they don't know. They're inheriting money. It's like winning the lottery, right? And so I don't want my kids to I don't want to dump that money in their lap. So I can use the IRA inheritance trust, and I can spread that out over 5 years or 10 years any way I want to by the language of that IRA inheritance trust. And so to me, I think it's worth the salt, because most people we serve, we work with, actually have IRAs or have 401ks alike. And this allows you to be able to control that, save them from themselves, because they're going to do it. A estate planning attorney told me one time 94%, this was a statistic, 94% of all IRAs get cashed in the first year, and I'm not surprised. It's like winning the lottery. And so I want to be able to minimize that, because think about it for a moment. If you take a $333,000 and you add it to my son's income, $130,000 a year, that's going to be a significant amount of tax that year that he's going to pay on that money, just because he wanted that money up front. It may benefit him, but I'd rather him get that methodically over a certain time frame, up to 10 years based on the Secure Act, and you can actually do that and solve that problem with an IRA inheritance trust. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's one of the best part of the planning, even though I like all the plan. But to me, this was one of the best bonuses that they could ever offer. I'm going to talk more about the interactive medical ID card here just in a few minutes. What our show's all about, it's always about income first, growth second. If you focus on income investing, where you're getting income first because that's the problem you need to solve first, then you will get growth. That's where you take income from the crops of the farm and keep the land of the farm. Don't sell the farm to get income, which is what most people are doing in their portfolios today by selling shares. If you want to maintain your farm, goes up in value over time. Same way with the stocks that provide you dividends, and you're going to get more growth over time and be able to beat and conquer inflation while trying to get income at the same time. That's exactly what income first methods do. And you can get a book. It talks a lot about income first methods. It's my book. It just came out about a month ago, Retirement Income Shift, Amazon bestseller in less than a week in 4 categories of personal finance. Got a free copy for the first 5 callers of today's retirement income source by calling 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. And we'll mail that out to you if you're one of the first 5 callers. Free, no obligation book, 888-930-1080. You're tuned in to the Retirement Income Source. This is Tim Sparks. We will be right back. Welcome to the Retirement Income Source. This is Tim Sparks, your host, and this show is sponsored by Sparks Financial Group right here in the heart of the Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. Today we're talking about 21st century estate planning. You know, I get involved with estate planning one way or the other because when it comes to estate planning, the definition of estate planning is distribution of your assets, which goes to your beneficiaries, but it's more than that. It's also financial. Did you know the financial advisor typically is the first one that clients will call upon the death of their spouse? And the biggest reason why, more so than even probably their estate planning attorney, this is nothing against estate planning attorney, because people don't want to think about the death of their spouse. But they want to make sure that their finances and any assets that are in the spouse's name that just passed away are still taken care of, and they have to be able to do that in a timely fashion because some of those assets could be large enough, can make a difference with their income. Because most companies will freeze assets once they understand that there's a death of one of the spouses. So you want to be able to make sure that you've got all those problems buttoned up. That's the reason why I'm a big fan of efficiently having a great estate plan. And speaking of estate plan, one of the top attorneys that we work with, and I'm just going to brag on this guy because he's really sharp. He's out of Chicago. He owns a real estate firm. He does all the legal work and stuff, and he's got over 1,300 clients. And whenever he's seen this 21st century estate planning, several years ago, he moved all of his clients immediately, as quickly as possible, to this platform because it was the first platform he's ever seen where the client can have full 100% control, which is what he wanted his clients to do. Again, that's an estate plan. It's a digital estate plan where everything is done, one flat fee, handled by a estate planning firm. You can actually check them out, Integrated Trust Systems. They even have a third party that can come in and become a subsequent trustee. We find that over half of our clients likes that idea. They got somebody there because a lot of times they have a hard time trying to find out who their subsequent trustee is going to be after the passing of the husband and wife. And so they've got it all put together. And this company's been around since 1985. They've done over 22,000 trusts, so this is not their first rodeo. And if there's a trust exists, they are aware of it, and they put that together for their clients. But what I like about it is it's not necessarily the one-time flat fee for all the documents, and you get 100% control, but also the interactive medical ID card that you set this up with your physician, and of course it's a certain number. This number that is put, you go to this certain website that this card is, it's in your wallet, and they type it in, and it comes up on the computer. Hospital's aware of how they work, and it tells the hospital everything they need to know about you: blood type, who the beneficiaries are, your spouse number, phone numbers. I mean, it's so important, especially, if I was to be on the side of the road, for example, and I'm in a car wreck and I'm in a coma. Well, a person in a coma can't talk to the person that's trying to put me on a stretcher and wheel me into the ER, right? We all know that. So at the end of the day, when I go in, I'm out of it. I'm out of conscious. And so they got to do some research to be able to find out who I am, whom I'm married to, if I'm married to anybody, I have children, whatever it may be. And if I have this interactive card, they can actually find out more about me very quickly by just pushing this in. And we find that a lot of spouses love this because we've even had some people that it's actually happened to their family, and if they would have had this, it would have saved a lot of heartaches. Because and I know with HIPAA laws the way they are today, it's very difficult to be able to get anything done unless there's a lot of proof. Sometimes there's living probate. Living probate means you have to give somebody permission, including sometimes even the spouse, before they can actually go in and talk on behalf of that the other spouse that may be there in a coma. So there's a lot to this medical ID card, but I think it's extremely valuable. You can give it to your children, whoever it may be, and we just don't know. We don't know how we're going to go, right? I mean, we can be in a car accident, we can go down a plane, whatever it may be. At least we got somebody knows, because most people, they carry power of attorneys on them, and they have power of attorneys, healthcare power of attorneys, durable power of attorneys for the purpose of financial. And at the end of the day, your book trust, all these documents are inside this book trust. Where are they at? They're at home. Well, they don't do you no good if you're in a car accident. I'll rather have something on me that can actually be an extension of that, so that way they can take care of me. And again, it's got a lot to do that could save my life. Because what if I'm a diabetic? All the information I want them to know about me can actually be readily, all they got to do is push in the number. So I thought that was pretty cool, in addition to the IRA inheritance trust. And so I want to share with you a real quick story just recently of a client just lost her spouse, and it happens every time. I've been trying to tell them to get an estate plan for the last, I don't know, at least 6 months to a year, and they put it off, and sure enough, he just lost his spouse, and of course his friend, he's probably even listening maybe to this day's show, is an attorney. So good news is having an attorney there present was really cool. And this attorney just happened to be going to be his trustee. If something happens to him, he wants a trust. And but meanwhile, he's going to have to go through probate on behalf of his wife because he procrastinated and put this off. Let me tell y'all something. Procrastination is the number one enemy why people don't get anything done. I get it. You're talking about death, right? But we don't know when we're going to check out. Do you know Elvis Presley passed away in his bathroom? Do you think he knew that? You think he was expecting it? If he did, he would have never, he would have done an estate plan and not caused his estate to, I think I read somewhere it was like 7 or 8 years before it got resolved, and still having problems with the estate. What about Prince? You remember the singer? He died in an elevator. Do you think he knew that? No. See, a lot of times we think that, everything is okay. In a blink of an eye, just like this gentleman right here, now he's going to have to go through probate, pay some costs, and me knowing this guy, he doesn't like to spend a lot of money anyway. He's a big time saver, and now he's going to have to deal with cost. But going forward, he's going to minimize that as much as possible by putting the proper estate planning documents in place. So with that being said, we're coming up at the end of our show, but I'm going to give you an opportunity one more time to be able to call our office, 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080, and get a free consultation on how you can get a one-time flat fee for documents. I'm talking about estate planning documents, living trust, IRA inheritance trust, medical care ID, power of attorneys, everything all in one flat fee. You can change it anytime you want to, wherever you want to, not with all these extra costs it's going to cost you throughout the times that you ever make changes in the future. Nothing like this. We're different than anybody that I've ever seen. And at the end of the day, this is a really cool setup. It's not, nothing odd or strange about it. I mean, I get it when you hear something new. It's like, oh wow, it's nothing new, people. It's been around since 1985. The guy who spearheaded this, Integrated Trust Systems, named the group. And if you schedule that time, we can sit down and I can share with you more of about how to get that for one flat fee. It's all controlled by attorneys. Everything's done legally. They take care of that. That is out of my realm. I don't make any money and don't want to make any money because that's not what I do. But I'm sharing this with you on the radio, your loyal listeners, and one thing I can tell you, a great estate plan can sure save headache to your children, your heirs. Well, with that being said, we appreciate you listening to our show today. We hope that you got some benefit from this show. There were some things that I did not get to go over. I wished I could and had time, but I'm going to be talking more about 21st century estate planning in the year of 2025, probably at least once a month, in addition to the financial planning we do on helping people reduce taxes, buy out Uncle Sam, and also, most importantly, invest for income so that way you can get the most mileage. Hope this show was beneficial. We look forward to next week for some more great information. Thank you for listening. Stay safe out there, and we will see you again next week.